Okay, so in the last video, we got up to finishing off our file by building out this fill on the ground plane of our board and filling it using the letter B on our keyboard or by going up to File, Edit, um, and fill all zones in order to fill in our ground plane all around our board outline. So we have our traces, our ground has been filled in, and we have a successful board outline. And we looked at exporting it for Osh Park. Now we're going to talk about using it with Carvera and manufacturing it such that we can actually build it here ourselves. So for this, we need to go to, it's a little bit finicky. And so the proper way to approach this is again to go to Fabrication Outputs, Gerbers, but now you're going to pick DXF and you're going to export in millimeters. That is what has worked for me. So DXF in millimeters from our file fabrication output Gerber dialog box. And again, I would just click generate drill files, generate drill file, close, plot. And now we've created everything that we need from the design side to take this into Carvera. Okay, so we kind of blew through some of the stuff about the Carvera, but I just kind of want to reiterate that it's capable of doing some very complex things. So we can do solder masks, like make it green or blue. We can do silk screens, so writing on top of that in white. There's all sorts of really complex things you can do, and I will talk about that in a secondary video. But for now, I just want to talk about the basics of what we're going to do. And so we've exported this into DXFs in millimeters, and now we can import it into our Carvera tool to actually do the CAM side, right? We've done the CAD side. We're moving to the CAM side here. So if we just go to Google and we type in Carvera software, you'll find a software link. And you will see that Carvera has Carvera Controller and Makera CAM. And you should download both of these. Makera CAM is what will actually give us the final design file that we want to upload to the Carvera. And the controller is the tool that we put that file into to actually move the machine. You should just come here and you should download. Oh, and they have some compatibility with other things too. So you can explore those things if you'd like, but you can download now the Makera CAM, and you should also be able to find here the Carvera controller software, software installation and use. Installation. There it is on Windows. Here it is on Mac. So you need to go through these things in order to install both the Makera CAM and the Carvera controller software. So this website isn't like the most user-friendly, but again, here is download now for Makera CAM, and then here is the Carvera controller installation, and there we go. Okay, so install those two things. So the first one we're going to need to pull up is Makera CAM. So let's go ahead and do that. And oh, we have what we did in class. So let's go ahead and delete everything. Oh, and now it has died. So it is beta, as they have indicated. So now we can have a fresh instance. So we're going to do a new project. We're going to do 3-axis because all we need to do is engrave and cut out our boards. And we are in. So here we are. And the first thing I want to make sure we do is set our stock. So in this video, we're going to go just through all of the steps of actually building the tool paths and exporting the tool path that we're going to use. So the first thing we do is we look at our stock. We check that the material is right. And we can click Edit and click here, and we should be able to get it to be PCB, and that is right. And I think these widths and heights are also what we have standard in stock, 100 by 150 millimeters. I think that's actually right. So, but you should measure it and double check. But that's our first step, is make sure that we have our correct stock and it has a height of 1.5 millimeters. I think that's correct. But double check, actually do the measurement. So we have our stock, our PCB stock, with the correct dimensions. And now we're ready to import what we've created. And the commands we have, there is the actual ability to import PCB, which would be the Gerber files, but that will be a mess. I have tried it. It is a mess. Instead, we need to import our 2D model, and that's going to be the DXFs we made. So we're going to go into Forge PCB, Forge demo, and this is what we just made, and I should be able to organize by date modified. And you can see these DXFs that we've generated. And so we need our board outline. There it is. We need our front copper. And there that is. And then we need our drill. So you can see if I do the 2D import 2D model, I actually can't select a drill file. I can only select DXF, and SVG. So I now need to go to import PCB, and that will let me pick my drill file. And these should be, I think these should be basically equivalent, but I'm just going to pick path or whatever. And it's going to crash. Great. So your mileage may vary here. Oh, and yet it hasn't crashed. Interesting. So I don't know what that was, but you can see we actually do have our drill holes that we need, which is wonderful. This seems to be redundant. I don't know what this is. Maybe I'll just get rid of this. Oh, that might be that's for the via potentially, which we won't be. Yeah, this is probably, let's take a look. The via example that I gave. Yeah, and you can see if we zoom in on this tiny, tiny hole, that it changes color very subtly when we turn this on and off. And this is too small for what the Makera is capable of doing. So we should just go ahead and delete this layer. But I have made it. I've done something to it now. Whatever, we'll just hide it. We don't need to use this layer. Everything else is looking good though. Everything else is exactly kind of like where we want to be cutting. So that's wonderful. Okay, so again, one key place that you might mess up is that the board outline imports 2 lines. So if we look at our edge cuts, and we just look at our edge cuts layer, it's double wide. We're going to go ahead and delete the inner one, so we just have one outer line. When we look at our traces, we also probably can go ahead and delete this outer line, as we chatted about in class. It's really just this stuff that we really care about. So that's one of the first things you should probably do, and just make sure you don't, if you're going to cut this outer line, there's only one line there that we're going to be working with. Okay, so all of our stuff is here now. Wonderful. We have our drills, we have our traces, and we have our board outline. We've cleaned them up so that the board outline is only one line. And we've also deleted the board outline from the copper layer. I'm now going to select everything, and I'm going to move it so that it's in the right place. So I'm going to transform, move, and I'm going to anchor it to the bottom left. And then I'm going to locate it at 0, 0. And you can see that now places it exactly where it should be. Of course, I designed this ridiculous thing that is like way bigger than our stock. So you won't do that. Yours will actually fit on the stock. Just bear with me. We're going to go through making the operations and pretend like this fish actually fits instead of being so gigantic. So, okay, great. That's exactly what we wanted. We are now sort of like centered. We're in the plane of where our stock should be. And if it is outside of this box, you're in very serious trouble. But we've sort of properly positioned it. And now it's time to create tool paths for this thing. And we can do that using this 2D path. And again, there's 3 types of tool paths. We have pockets, which fills out a layer. So if you give it an area, it will cut everything inside of it. So if we just click on it, and I'm not even sure what we have selected actually. Let's go ahead. Let's go to the edge. If we select this and we do a pocket cut, it should be a dotted line when it's selected, and we cut all the way through the material, so 1.8 millimeters. So we give ourselves a little bit more than what the depth of the material is. And we use, as always, we use one of the example tools, which are the 6 that come loaded in the machine. And we're going to use our corn bit, because the 2 tools you use are the corn bit and the engraving bit for this. We're going to make sure we delete the other tool. We'll always add ramping, so that's nice. If we go ahead and calculate this, you can see it actually goes through and it cuts out this entire shape, everything on the inside with a pocket cut. That is definitely not what we want to do, but that's what it does. So let's go ahead and not have a pocket cut. We can do a contour, which is going to go along the line. And then we can drill, which is just drilling at a specific point, which is what we would do potentially with our drill path. Okay, so those are the 3 things. And actually, for the sake of what we're doing here, you will always basically use a contour cut for your traces and a contour cut for your edges, but you're using different bits, right? You're just engraving for your traces, just lightly cutting out a little bit of copper in contour. You're cutting with a corn bit all the way through to cut out the contour of the shape. And then for the actual drill parts, these holes that we need to cut through, you could drill, but that's going to be 0.8 millimeters. And these are 1 millimeter holes that it's specified. And so we can actually do that pocket operation inside of these little circles. So that's what we're actually going to do. We're going to pocket the things that we need to drill through, and otherwise we're going to be using contours. Okay. The other key thing to remember is the last operation is cutting out the board. We want to do everything else first, right? So the first thing we're going to do is turn off all the layers, open our front copper layer. I can see green here, so I know my drill layer is still on. I messed up there. So I have this. I'm going to select everything. Or the other way to select everything is to right-click on it and to click Select Graphics. Then I'm going to go up to the 2D and I'm going to do a contour as we discussed. And so this one is just an engraving pass. I'm just trying to remove a really little bit of copper on the very top. I'm not trying to cut through. So in order to do that, I need a depth of 0.05 millimeters. And then I'm going to make sure my tool is the number 2 engraving bit, this 0.2 millimeter 30-degree engraving bit in the second slot, and it's ready for a PCB. I'm going to choose that. And then I'm going to make sure we're on the outside. We're going to do ramping, and we can calculate. And now I can see white lines that match what I need engraved, right? And so that's wonderful. That's exactly what I was hoping. It's on the outside of all of these shapes that I need engraved. So perfect. We've done that successfully. Okay. And it has now added this path here, contour path. And I can preview it as well to look at what's going to happen. And if I click preview, we can kind of see it's going to do exactly what I told it to do, which is carve something out way out of bounds of the freaking stock and just reiterate to us that my example is terrible. So there you go. Wonderful. You can see kind of like what's going on, and you can also see how deep it's going to go and where it will retract and all these kinds of things on your material. And we can see that it's only going to barely cut into this material if we look at it in 3D. So that's great. Let's go back to our top view. So we have contoured out our traces. Wonderful. Next, we will do our drills. So you can see now these are back. These green guys are back. I can turn the paths on. I can select the graphics of this. And we're going to do what? A pocket. So here we pocket, and this, we do want to go all the way through the material. So we're going to set our in-depth to 1.8 millimeters, all the way through the material plus a little bit. And we're going to make sure that our tool is the corn bit. And with these kinds of cuts, it's frequent to do a roughing pass that takes off a lot of material, and then use a different bit to go back in and do a finishing pass that's a lot more precise, which is why you have a tool list here, where you can pick multiple bits and it will do the same pass in 2 different bits potentially. But this can be very dangerous. So we want to make sure that the only tool that we have is the one that we want, which is the 8mm corn bit. That's the only 0.8mm corn bit for PCB. That's the only one we want, and we only want it once. So double check that. We have ramping, everything else is great. We calculate, and we can see we pocket out a little circle right in the middle. And given the size of the bit, that will make perfect holes all the way through the material. And we should be able to see when we look at it, right, it's going deep through the material. If we turn all of our paths back on, this is going way deeper than our engraving pass. So that's great. That's exactly what we would hope to see. So now we have our holes cut. We first are doing a little engraving on the front, then we're drilling our holes through here. And the last thing that we need to do is cut out the edge. And so we're going to go ahead and select this edge, select graphics. We've selected it, 2D path. And which one will we do? We will do the contour. And this contour is not an engraving pass. We're trying to cut all the way through again. So we need to go, once again, 1.8 millimeters through the material just a little bit. And we need to use not the engraving bit. That would be catastrophic. We would crash the engraving bit into our tool. We instead want to again use the 0.8mm corn bit. And we double check that our tool says 0.8mm corn. Great. And we're on the outside, and we do some ramping. Perfect. This will completely cut out this shape, and that can be a real problem. So, the way we're fixturing this shape is that it will be double stick taped to some spoil board that can be drilled into. So you can drill through the material a little bit and have a clean drill all the way through. And the tape will hold it in place so it doesn't move after you've cut it out. But the other option typically is to put little tabs. Let's see if it'll do some tabs actually. Let's try to do triangle tabs, and let's generate these tabs. Yeah, so you can see it's actually trying to generate where these tabs are going to go. And it may actually add tabs with this tab command, which historically in this software has really messed up for me. But if you're using double-sided tape, you don't need to worry about it. But yeah, so now you can see this is going to cut all the way through the material, except at these tab points, it's going to leave a little bit of material on the bottom half of the board to kind of hold it in place. And then when you get this out, you're going to have to punch it through because it'll still be slightly connected at each one of these tab points. So that's something worth trying. And you can experiment with that instead of using the double-sided tape to hold it down if you wanted to. But I would advise you can skip the tabs and just cut all the way through the material. So now we have our paths, and we can see we have 3 path operations. We engrave our traces, we pocket out our holes, or you could drill through the holes, but they will be slightly smaller holes, 0.8 millimeters instead of 1. You need to double check that that's going to work for you. And then we have our final operation of cutting the entire thing out with the board. And we can export, we can right-click on this, and we should be able to, no, let's make sure that oh yeah, right-click on it and click Save All Paths. And it will give us our, the option to put in and out these things, and we can see which tool it's using and which bit and what type that is, right? So this is where we double check that we're doing exactly what we expect. We're not ever cutting through all the way with an engraving bit, for instance, or trying to cut a pocket with an engraving bit. We have the proper bits and the order is all correct. And then we can click export, and we can just say fish board, save, and it fails. So wonderful. Hopefully that won't fail for you. Export fish. Maybe it's because of where I was saving it, which I guess is right in the middle of root. Let's just put it in downloads. So now it's no problem. So there you go. Save it. You can also, if you're going to do a more advanced thing, which I will talk about in this next video, you can save each individual pass as a tool pass if you want to go hardcore on what you create. So that's the basics of creating a tool, like a G-code file that you can then upload using Carvera controller to the actual CAM software. And we will go over some slightly more advanced techniques again in the next video.